So excited to sit down with you. Deanie and I have been believers in Cann for a really long time. We support the product. We love the product. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I use your product. I find it like a great way for me to remember the old days.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, though, please tell everybody your name and what you do.
Yeah. I'm Jake Bullock, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cann, which is a range of microdose THC and CBD infused drinks that are largely meant to be alcohol alternatives. These are drinks that people grab and instead of, a glass of wine, it takes the edge off and then, they feel better the next day.
So just before Deanie and I invested in the product, you guys sent some samples, and I've got a bunch of cups like this at my house, and I filled it with ice, and I poured a can over the top. And mind you, I haven't had a drink since 2009, but I dabble with a little THC.
Yep.
So I'm sipping it, and I feel just a slight little buzz, and I look at my wife, and I go, oh my God, this is what a cocktail used to be like.
Yes.
I was like, hello, old friend. Like, it was just so nice to be able to relax and unwind. And
Yep.
the difference for me between alcohol and one of your products is, with alcohol, I would have one. I'd be like, let's have 14.
Right.
Like, let's fucking go.
Yes.
And with your product, I can have one. I can have a second one. I can watch a movie. I can relax. No one's streaking the quad. I don't have to go to a meeting the next day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's just a really clean, fun experience. How did you land on this approach versus like, let's go to a dead show?
Yeah. It's a great point that these products don't lower your inhibitions in the same way that alcohol do. It's one of the ways in which I think they're safer and people enjoy them because they're not going to change the way that you behave, in a way that maybe you regret the next day.
No, I never took a can and said, let's get in a fist fight.
Exactly. Which is pretty amazing if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
And we, from the beginning, that was always the idea, right? We were not going to create a product to get you high. That wasn't what we wanted to do. I wasn't sort of like a stoner, right? I joke a stoner could have never started Cann because they would have looked at our products and been like, this is too low.
But that's the most impressive thing too, because when Danny and I decided to get into the category, we could have gotten in anything. But a lot of the guys that I met were like former stoners,
Right.
or they'd been in THC for 20 years. And I look at the guy, I'm like, 20 years, dude? You were like a pirate? Like, how,
Right.
what kind of illegal drug business were you
Yes.
in 20 years ago? But your background is blue chip.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, look, what's interesting about our journey to this space is maybe a little bit unconventional, right? Like I'd done a bunch of boring things, both education and also management consulting, investment banking, and private equity investing, things like that.
I love how you just did that at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. So it's not, didn't prepare me for anything,
Yeah.
beverage or food or CPG. And so we had to learn a lot really fast. And our expensive education was actually in failure around launching this product and learn all the lessons that we've learned. That was the hard part. But, I think what made us a little bit different is we saw the world a little bit differently because we came from that like mainstream consumer perspective where we were drinking alcohol. We were the ones that were like, wait, do we have a problem with how much alcohol we're drinking? And like, a lot of the places that I worked had these really strong work hard, play hard cultures where you almost felt like you were forced into the alcohol drinking, right? It was like a part of
team building.
Let's go
get
community.
drunk, part of the team.
Exactly. And that, I think intersected it in a really interesting way with like, as you got older and you're sort of like, wait, what is going on in my life? And like the 2-day debilitating hangovers and feeling like it was really getting in the way instead of enabling you to be a better version of yourself. And so for us, it was almost like a survival tactic of like, how do we maintain being social and the requirements that largely we put on ourselves to be social and wanting to sort of engage in that way, but not, have that same impact to our lives that we were experiencing from alcohol. And I had grown up in Colorado, which is the same, it was sort of around the same time that they were going through adult use dispensary and going to these dispensaries, and you sort of scratch your head a little bit being like, well, it's a gummy candy. It's like a gummy bear. If you have to bite the head off because if you eat the whole thing, you get too high. And it's like,
just lick one leg.
right. It's like it was amazing to think that was this new industry that was coming into the fold, from illicit to legal now, and it was going to change the world. And it's like, I'm telling you what, biting a head off a gummy bear because you're too afraid to eat the whole thing is not going to change the world.
No, and there's no consistency. I'm like, I don't know if they mixed it well enough. This one seems stronger than that one.
Right, exactly.
And the good thing about Cann is it's like a beer. You know what you're getting yourself into. It's consistent experience.
Yes, there's a consistency to it. The liquid form factor really helps with that. It makes it safer. It's harder to overindulge.
It
sort
comes
of moderates.
on in a nice way.
It does. You feel it faster. So more akin to for folks that are familiar with cannabis, it's more akin to smoking than an edible where you kind of wait a couple hours and you don't know what you're going to get.
Well, then the worst is like, oh, it didn't work. Let's take another one. Oh, shit, now it's working.
And it works, exactly. And there is a lot of variability in how the body absorbs THC, so beverages help with that to some degree. It's also a form factor that we know. We have thousands of years of human history socializing around drinks. You also understand how to crack one open and drink it, and that experience is going to be
Well, the other thing is the experience of eating a gummy bear is 5 seconds. There's not a lot of community in it versus standing around enjoying a drink.
Yes, there's a sociability in some ways when we I interacted with the marijuana industry for the first time, it wasn't that social. I mean, there was like sort of pass a joint kind of culture, but it wasn't in the same to the same degree. Exactly. Where, there's something amazing about drinking. One of the benefits of alcohol, I think, is it has this incredible socialization, and it's incremental, right? So we have it in rounds, and that's only enabled by the fact that you don't really think about this, but when you drink a beer, that's a microdose of alcohol. And that's why you can have a few beers. It's one of the sort of brilliance behind the industry. And so we wanted to replicate that. Those same heuristics around drinking alcohol. Let's try to make a one-to-one comparison so people could actually drink it in the same way. You may be having a can, I have a beer, we'll probably have the second one at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I've done a lot of work with the beer business, even though I don't drink. And they love to talk about, is it sessionable?
Yep.
And I find your product to be super sessionable.
It is.
So without dating myself, I'm from the 1900s. And I remember Prohibition. I remember buying a bag from the dude behind Burger King, when I was 16 years old. And for me, it's still a little taboo-ish because you grew up that way. My children have a completely different relationship with cannabis because they've never understood Prohibition. But I took your product to a camping trip. My kids go to this little Christian school. And I thought, I'm going to be a little naughty. I'm going to bring this cannabis drink, but I'll be low-key about it, right? So I'm walking around with a cup just like this one. A couple moms, get wind of what I'm doing. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're into Cann? I'm into Cann. Which Cann do you have? What flavors do you like?
Amazing.
Next thing you know, I'm out of stock. I
Yes.
brought 12 cans. I gave them all away the first night. And I was dry night too.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, that you ran into one of our best customers, right? Which is parents, and particularly moms. It's amazing how
Christian school moms. Carline moms is what I call them.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the thing is, they want to be present for parenting. They want to be there for their kids. Parenting is hard. And so the idea of like, I need something to take the edge off is really real. But when that thing that takes the edge off then also like sets you up worse the next day to be a parent, like that's not working. And I think a lot of parents are realizing that, especially young parents who are, sleep is such a challenge and they're just trying to work through the day. Like, how do we get through this? Cann's helping them.
So the business is still roaring, but you guys were roaring last year. And then November happened.
Yep.
For the people that are uninitiated and living under a rock, tell us what happened.
Yeah, so the simple of it was, if you remember, we had this big government shutdown, and the bill to reopen the government from the shutdown, which was the longest shutdown we've had in the history of the country, some folks snuck in some language that basically said, in a year, we're going to change the definition of hemp to only allow 0.4 milligrams of THC for a hemp product. Obviously, we make a lot of different products, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 milligrams. We don't make a 0.4, at least not yet. And so it would effectively ban all of our products. And they gave a year implementation delay. Largely, we think that was because they understood that there were some products here that would get swept up that they didn't want to get rid of. What they were really going after were highly synthetic, highly intoxicating, usually
I've seen cans
candies,
with 100 milligrams.
100 milligram cans. A lot of times these are like the Skittles with a Z kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, these products
So
should
urban.
not exist. I know. They shouldn't exist. They're illegal for all sorts of reasons, but the synthetically derived cannabinoids, shouldn't have no place in the marketplace, especially at these highly intoxicating levels.
Well, it's crazy is so many people believe in everything organic.
Right.
And then you have a synthetic cannabinoid, and it's like, what's the message here?
Right. Something is getting lost in translation. And so those products need to go. Like Congress was right about that. The problem is they weren't able to craft legislation in a way that also protected all the good things that are happening in the hemp industry, including products like ours, but also, all sorts of things, like, gummies that seniors are taking to help them sleep. That's like a really important category. They're not that potent. They're sort of a mild product. Or your favorite pet treat for your aging dog. Like those are all getting swept away. This will be an effective ban on effective CBD products, because we know for CBD to work, you need a little bit of THC.
This episode of the Poor Decisions podcast is sponsored by Carry, where science and nutrition meet great taste. Carry partners with leading brands to solve real-world challenges, from flavor and functionality to nutrition, cost, and sustainability. Because better food and beverage start with better solutions. Learn more at carry.com.
Everyone knows that at this point. And so by banning the THC part of it, you actually effectively are banning all the CBD products that work as well. So we are in a fight of our lives over this year to go get rules. And that's the important point, right? We want regulation. That is not true of the bad actors selling Skittles with a Z. They're trying to do this with no rules. We want rules. And we actually think alcohol rules are the best model for this. They've been doing it for almost 100 years. There's a lot of debate around the 3-tier system, but it largely works. It keeps counterfeit products out. It embeds compliance, naturally into the system.
What's the government's best tax collector as well.
It collects tax, and look, the government is leaking tax revenue as a result of declining alcohol sales, and so they need some way of replacing that. We are coming to the table saying, tax us, regulate us, give us rules to follow, and we will comply. That's what good actors want to do in the space. So we're optimistic that we'll get something done, but it's a fight, and I'm in DC, it seems like now every other week.
Well, and what's ironic, but maybe is obvious to some listeners, and one of the things I like about you and your leadership style is you're among the most gentlemanly gentlemen I've ever met. So you may not say it, but ironically, it feels like it's the alcohol lobby that's really working against you.
It's interesting. So alcohol, as we know, has various components across the tiers. Retailers and largely wholesalers are with us, and it's because they're selling a ton of these products. They're moving a ton of these products on their trucks.
Don't you point beer's declining?
Exactly, and in many cases, we are going to market on beer trucks where Cann is filling the gap that they lost because of X beer that is down 5% or has been down 5% for however many years now. So those folks are generally on our side. Where it gets a little bit tricky is on the alcohol supplier side, right? We're competing directly with them. There's no way around that. That's true. And if you go into a Total Wine and you look at what's selling,
you're competing with them on the shelf, but you're also competing with them at the same distributorship. Like, how do you get the share of mind for the route salesman who's just filling out orders?
Right. It's really challenging. I mean, we tell this to the team all the time. I mean, it was one thing when we were competing in the dispensaries and we were, this sort of like sexy brand and we stood out by virtue of just being a drink. Now we're in these retail environments where we are competing with the biggest brands in the world.
Yeah.
The beer brands, the spirits brands. I mean, they're amazing at brand. And so it's really, really challenging to win share of mind. The thing we have going for us is velocity. These products sell, consumers want them. And the smart retailers have taken these categories on and they've invested a lot of space in the store around the category. So we have them on our side as part of this fight. And look, when we talk to our alcohol supplier friends about this, which we do, they make a really good point, which is, well, this is unregulated in a lot of states. You don't have to play by the same rules that we do, right? There are trade practices issues. There are tax issues. There's marketing restrictions. And largely they're not right about this because in 25 states, we have really, really clear rules. They're just done at the state level and we comply with them and they're really strict. And we actually apply our compliance program across the most strict states. So we're doing it everywhere, whether we have to or not.
But that's where the alcohol industry is among the strongest because you've got, distributorships. There's some of them in their fourth generation right now.
Right.
They've been working their local state house for 75 years to build these walled gardens. So those are actually the places that should be the hardest.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what we tell them is give us your rules. We'll comply with them. We want the level playing field as well. Because what's keeping Cann from becoming a massive company today is we can't sell in most places where alcohol is sold. Because those major retailers, the chain retailers, multi-outlet grocers that sell a ton of beer don't sell us today. And there's some exceptions, right? Sprouts has been a leader in the space. Target has a small trial.
But even concert venues and on-premise occasions and things like that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's funny. We pull our customers and where they say that they drink more alcohol than Cann are weddings, concerts, sporting events, bars and restaurants. It's like, okay, that makes sense. You can't buy us there. It's going to be really hard for us to compete, right? And so that will change over time. And in a weird way, I think on-premise will come last because there's questions around sort of like intoxication and driving and things that need to get sorted out with law enforcement, and those will come.
Well, even from like combustible THC, it just blows me away that there aren't like the sort of Dutch style, coffee shops. Like there's not a place where you can go and get high publicly. Like, I think there's one restaurant in Hollywood and they might have closed it already.
Right. Yeah.
Like, litigated it out of existence.
They've struggled. I think part of the reason they struggle is it's a lesson about our consumer as well, right? Our consumers still drink alcohol. We help them kind of go from maybe what was too much to much better, and that we see that pretty much across the board with our customers. We've got a small segment, about 15% that don't drink at all, and so that's a challenge for these cafes because it can't be a place where you show up and you just smoke weed. Like, people want to have options. They actually don't want smoke in the air. They want alcohol. They want food. They want it to actually feel like a normal place.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think the marijuana industry has struggled to be able to convince lawmakers to allow.
Are there any states where they have like that social club environment, like Denver? None of them have a social club?
There's some. So Minnesota was the first state that really started allowing hemp drinks.
Yeah.
And they made it really clear that you could sell hemp drinks anywhere alcohol is sold if you followed all these rules. And they're a pretty strict regulatory regime. And as a result of that, bars and restaurants are comfortable in Minnesota selling it. So it's pretty hard to go to Minneapolis or St. Paul and not find a THC drink section on the menu, which will give you an indication of where the future is going. There's some other markets where we're starting to see that, Texas, maybe a few others that have passed laws that allow it. And I think it's just going to benefit consumers at the end of the day.
Well, what's weird is like these laws often don't make sense. Like, I remember being a much younger guy. I was in Vancouver. I found a place where it was like social, you could smoke. but it was BYOB. It was bring your own bag. And they would rent you a vaporizer. They would rent you a bong. And
Right.
I look at the guy and I'm like, I'm traveling from out of town. Where would I get my own bag? And he looks at me and goes, well, this is a very liberal neighborhood. He goes, walk around the block one time. You'll get offered 5 bags.
Amazing.
But it's crazy to see how things have changed, but they just don't seem to change fast enough or purposefully enough where it actually makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting an education in the last year on sort of the politics of it all and how it works. And these things are hard. There's real opposition, right? You have prohibitionists that don't think any THC should be allowed anywhere. And that sort of, they're still fighting that fight, despite the fact that largely, I think, if you even poll Americans now, most of them think that the cannabis is legal.
Yeah.
So, because it is in many states, right? So, we're kind of figuring out how to wrap up that phase, but it does take a long time. And there are real considerations. We see this at the state level all the time. Lawmakers are, they're concerned about access to minors. Again, part of the reason we think the alcohol supply chain makes a lot of sense. It does that good job of keeping products outside of the hands of minors. And so we can leverage some of those lessons to try to accelerate what policy looks like in the space, but we have to just survive this looming ban in November 1st.
Yeah. Well, what are you excited about? What's coming up? Because I remember last season you guys did amazing holiday flavors. Like, what's coming up?
Yeah, we've got some fun stuff in the works. So we just launched Passion Peach Mate. This is cool for a number of reasons. One, it's delicious. Two, it has natural caffeine from yerba mate, which is an amazing way of getting caffeine. It doesn't have the jitters. And it's fun because that pairing with THC can be really social for folks, especially people that are planning on going out and drinking and not, going to bed. So that's been a fun one, and it'll hopefully be the start of a sort of broader foray into the mate and caffeine space. And then our Spritz product we're really excited about. That's new and is
I
in
saw
a
that
bottle.
for the first time last night. It's gorgeous. The packaging's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's sort of if Aperol and Campari had a baby. Obviously no alcohol, but THC instead. And you can mix it with your favorite bubbly, maybe an NA1 if you want to keep it non-alcoholic. We hear customers are mixing it with actual.
Sprite maybe would be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sprite would be good. LaCroix, some of those sparkling waters. And you can kind of mix up your own Spritz, which people love. And the bottles are really becoming an interesting.
We gave me a
part of
bunch of
the
good
category.
ideas because there's a bottle in my room.
There you go. There you go.
I was able to access the storage room, and I'm like, I need to take this one
Yes.
home.
Yeah. Take that one home.
Well, dude, thank you so much for sitting down. Like, Danny and I are in a lot of things. We made a lot of little investments, but this is the one that I cheer for. This is the one I'm excited about. And I really appreciate your leadership and what you're doing. And I think you're in one of those weird spots where the pioneers take all the arrows.
We do.
But the pioneers are always the guys that figure it out. Like, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
So I know that you're the guys who figure it out.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thanks, Dino.
Thanks for sitting down, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah.